Howdy guys and gals, I'm Kyle Broderick. Welcome back to the freezing cold garage of the Social Regressive. Today I was about to mount the Nikon Force XR 2.5 to 8 by 28 millimeter pistol scope onto our Scout AR, which is our attempt to take Jeff Cooper's Scout formula and apply it to an AR-15. So far, everything has been going really well on this. It has really lived up to all the hopes that I had for it. It's very lightweight. Of course, the furniture just looks great. It looks awesome. Balance is just about perfect. And we're going to be testing all kinds of different sighting systems and optics on here. I want to really test out some of the ideas that people have thrown around about where to put scopes and what kind of sights to use. We're going to test some really nice Ultradyne iron sights at the rear and at the front on this. And then when it comes to some of the glass that you can look through, we're going to do a red dot, just a Bushnell TRS 25, great little scope, or little red dot sight. We're going to put it toward the back here on the action. We're also going to mount it a little further forward to see which one our shooters like, if they like to have a wide field of view around the scope or a wider field of view through it, just to see how quickly people can get on target and bounce from one target to the next. But one of the things that we're really going to take a close look at here, because this is part of the whole Scout rifle thing, I did a review a while back on the Savage 110 Scout. Great rifle, and it was a whole lot of fun to shoot. But one of its peculiarities, one of the things that Jeff Cooper kind of baked into the Scout rifle concept, is using one of these low power extended eye relief pistol scopes that sits pretty well forward on a rifle. So what I want to do is actually test this in that position versus a low power variable optic like the Falcon S8i. We're going to test both of those back to back to see which one is actually quicker to get on target and be able to engage multiple targets within kind of closer range distances. We'll do a little bit of longer range shooting as well, but this whole rifle overall is meant for close range shooting, nothing further than about 450 yards. That's going to be about the max. Now, I was going to mount this scope into this mount right here, get it all leveled out today in this video, but tragically, even though I am extremely excited about this mount right here and how awesome it is, this is the Warne QD XSKEL mount, but it's a little lever lock mount. I'll have to pop this off later. I might have tightened this up a little bit too much, but it has little lever locks that lock this into place, kind of a quick detach method, and you can actually adjust the tension. Might have gotten a little crazy here on the back end, but there is a problem with this. It is actually a little bit too long. So our short scope can't actually fit. The bell is just a little bit too close right here, and it's gonna get clipped by this mount right here. So what I'm gonna have to do, even though it just looks so pretty, is I've got to swap it out with the mount that I have on my buddy Cole's 458 SOCOM AR-15. We are going to remove this weaver. This is also a really good one. I like these a lot. This has thumb nut attachments right here. This is a 458 SOCOM rifle, so I'm not depending on thumb nut tension to keep this attached. I'm actually torquing this puppy down. But we're going to swap this for this one. And I'm going to be so sad to see this go, but you will see this mount again on this rifle, hopefully on some hog hunts here in the future. But now we're going to take a look at some of the weird things about a pistol scope and how to mount it onto a rifle, because this is actually turning out to be a bit more difficult than I thought. One of the things that I've shown in the past is how to mount and level. Well, for example, this actually showed how to mount this prime onto this rifle right here. Using one way of leveling a scope and then figuring out eye relief based on your actual type of shooting. Make sure you go check out that video. I've also done one that's based on putting light through the scope to get a proper level. I'll put a link to that video as well. But in this case, this scope is a little bit of a peculiarity. A pistol scope does not have a really fixed eye relief. None of the scopes that you ever use do. It actually varies based on your zoom ratio, or your zoom at the time. So if you're zoomed all the way in on a 27x scope or whatever, it's going to have a certain point where your face needs to be, and then as you zoom out, you might actually have to back your face off or somehow move it someplace else in order to see a little bit better. With a normal hunting scope that's close to your face, those movements are so minuscule that most of the time you don't even notice that you did them. This one, though, is quite a bit different. There's a good bit of face travel that you have to make in order to get this lined up when you have a different zoom on here. So this is a 2.5 to 8. That's a pretty big zoom ratio right there. And I find that I'm having to move my head around a lot. So today we're going to, through kind of trial and error, figure out the best place to put this scope so that we can use it at all of these, at these various zooms. I won't go through all the steps that it's going to take to mount and level this rifle scope. I'll actually point you back toward an older video, the one where I did the mounting and leveling of that Bushnell Prime on the 458 SOCOM rifle. This is going to take the same steps. This is just a little bit weird, and I want to talk about some of the oddities going on here. Since I do suspect that there is a pretty broad range of eye reliefs based on whatever the magnification is, I'm just going to go ahead and find out what those are. I'm going to do the bottom end, 2.5x, and then make a mark for my 8x. And what I'm going to do here is I've gone ahead and put the mount on. As you can see, it's just thumb tight. If I need to move the scope a full picatinny rail section, then I'll just pick it up and move it. If I need to make a minor movement, I've left these screws loose up here so I can move the scope a little bit forward and backward, and I can cant it if I need to. And then I'll just take a pencil and I'll line up with the ocular bell right here and make a mark where this is going to end up for both of those. And now one of the tricks with this, if you have an offhand rifle, you need to test your eye relief in a shooting stance. Don't get in the prone or on a bench or anything like that. If this is an offhand rifle, test your eye relief while standing. Here's what I found. At 2.5x, this is my proper eye relief. That's where the ocular bell ends right there. And then at 8x, that's where it should be. And this has a total spread of about 3 1/8 inches. So this is not something that you can just move your face around a little bit in order to see through it. Now you could possibly adjust your stock back there, but then you're starting to get into some weirdness with length of pull and all that. So I think that my top tip, if you are going to be building a rifle like this, or if you want to buy one of the Savage Scout rifles or the Gunsight Scout from Ruger, probably get the fixed power model. This one, the 2.5 to 8, I think is going to be an excellent handgun scope, because you can pretty easily kind of play the slide trombone while you're using a handgun. You can, you know, move your gun around a little bit, move your head a little bit, kind of crane your neck a little bit differently, and you can get that shot. But on a rifle, yeah, these dimensions are a little bit more critical, and I don't think it's going to work that well. Or if you do get this model, just pick a fixed power perhaps. Or maybe, you know, if you want to be able to swap it around for different scenarios, like if we were shooting offhand, you know, at quick shots, leave it mounted in that more forward position. And then if we know that we're going to be doing some coyote hunting at a little bit longer ranges from a prone position or something, then you can just have a mark or something and move it back. But you can see that this is a pretty interesting conundrum. I intend to use this rifle to deal with pop-up targets, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this scope at 2.5 magnification, and that means that I need to move this all the way to its furthest forward position right here, and that's going to upset balance quite a bit. Thankfully, this is a lightweight scope and a lightweight mount, so it shouldn't mess with things too much. We're going to see how it works compared to a rear-mounted low-power variable optic, red dot sight, iron sights, and all that. We'll see how quickly this gets on target and how it deals with some of those longer range ones as well. Remember that this does have a ballistic drop compensator, so we can actually use this to make hits out at longer ranges if we need to. We'll just have to figure out what the drops are on this. Now, one other experiment that we're going to be conducting on this rifle overall is we've had, you know, some questions in the comments, people wondering how much the bend that you might get from the handguard when it's under some kind of stress, whether being pulled by a sling or put on a rest or a bipod or something like that, if it's going to cause the scope to point in a different direction than it normally would and, you know, throw off the shot. And I'm kind of curious about this as well. You can see that if I press on the barrel, that yes, it, you know, something is bending here, whether it's the handguard or, you know, the barrel itself under here. We can actually cause these to shift relative to each other. In the end, I'm really not guessing that it's going to be that big a deal, just because we're not going to be able to put that much stress on here. You know, right now I'm torquing on the barrel to get this much change. But also keep in mind that people have been mounting their iron sights on these handguards for years and years and years without much problem, I shouldn't think, because people would just keep doing it. There is, of course, the option of putting a sight out on the end of the barrel as well, but I really don't think this will be an issue. But hey, we'll find out. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we have all kinds of videos in this series coming out. We're going to test all kinds of fun stuff. And one of the big ones is going to be the final review that we're going to do on this scope right here. And whatever I find on this variable is probably going to be applicable to the fixed power as well. They should be using the same glass, same parts, all that. And I'm really looking forward to the full testing on this scope, because I think it is a real honey of a product out on the market. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Even if you didn't like this particular content, go ahead and subscribe. There's probably something coming that's more up your alley. Check out this playlist right here. This is going to have videos in a similar vein to what you just watched. These 2 videos we cherry-picked for you. And finally, The Social Regressive is on Patreon. So you can become a patron of the destructive arts and earn some goodies while helping us to provide high-quality videos just by kicking us a few bucks a month. Thanks so much for your patronage.